Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another episode of the Optimus NFL show. I am your host, Brad Bowl, and joining me, as always, is my good mate and friend and co-host and whatever else you want to call him. It's Dan O'Connell. Dan, how are we, mate?
Brad, I'm doing awesome. It's finally NFL, like actual NFL season now. So everything we've been talking about is either going to make us look super smart or we just hope for the best to not look completely foolish.
Well, that's the goal of this is to try not look as foolish all the time. Every once in a while, that's okay, but not all the time. Um, So, what we're going to do here today is we are going to give our week one picks. We are going to do our week one touchdown scorers who we think could do. We might put together something at the end. We'll figure it out. But we're looking here, giving you a few options of guys who we think could be scorers in this and go from there. But what I think we might do first is we actually made these picks a couple of weeks ago. It's just we've had some scheduling issues and we haven't been able to actually get on a show and actually do this. So we are going to give you our award winners for the year. So we're just going to do some of the basic award winners. So what I think we can do first is, Dan, I'll let you go first. Who is your MVP for this season?
My MVP, and I think a lot's going to need to go his way for it to happen. But you look at losing some big player in Stephon Diggs. All the talk is about how the Bills' receiving core is going to go. They're young. How are they going to gel? I think Josh Allen, if he puts up anything like he has done the last couple seasons, I think he'll be the MVP.
It's funny that you actually said that because he was my pick as well, Josh Allen. I just think it's
Oh,
one
was
of
he?
those. Yeah, it's one of those things that I'd written this down from the get go. I'm expecting one of those seasons where everyone, because there is some of that talk of, is Josh Allen the one who's driving this train, or was he only good because he had Stephon Diggs? I actually think he's obviously a really good player, as a lot of people do, but I think this is going to be the culmination for him of the last couple of years, and this is the season that he gets the MVP. So we are both in lockstep there, which is surprising.
And you look at his odds, like we go off Sportsbet here in Australia. We've got like Patrick Mahomes is $4.50. So he's as short as it gets for MVP. And then Josh
Yeah,
Allen's the next closest. He's $8.50. Like
yeah,
in a long season where a lot can happen, Patrick Mahomes at 450 and the next closest at $8.50.
yeah.
That's ridiculous as far as I'm
It,
concerned. So
yeah,
yeah, $8.50, good value for Josh Allen. If you want a bit of an outsider, this is me going to be claimed being a homer.
yeah,
But Jordan Love at $14, if he can go, so his second half of the season was MVP worthy. If he played like that all season last year, he should have been MVP.
mm,
I don't think he's going to match that sort of numbers over the course of the full season, what he did in that second half. But if he can be consistent, getting close to that sort of play level for the entire season, and with this Packers young offense on the up, with Matt LaFleur calling plays, I wouldn't be shocked if Jordan Love's right in that conversation come the end of the season.
no, I could see it as well. I think for that to happen, the Packers have to win the NFC North, which they could do.
Yeah,
But to me, that's one of those picks. But it wouldn't shock me. I'll put it that way. It wouldn't shock me if he did it.
yeah. Obviously, I'm hoping for it. So, but I
Yeah,
like that at $14 just for a bit of a smoky.
yeah. No, I like it. Offensive Player of the Year. I am going to go out on a bit of a limb here. Oh, I don't know if it's a bit of a limb, but maybe it is. But I'm actually going to go Garrett Wilson.
Okay, I like
I
that.
I just
Yeah,
I just think, you could pick the first lot of people that come to your mind for your offensive player of the year because it's generally not a quarterback. Your Tyreek Hills, your Christian McCaffreys. I just think that, we saw that Garrett Wilson last year was one of the leading target getters for wide receivers, and he had Zach Wilson and God knows who else throwing him the ball. So if he can have a pretty healthy Aaron Rodgers and he has that type of talent that we've all been able to see, he's flashed. Like, he's put up some incredible seasons his first 2 years in the league, and he's had some pretty horrible quarterback play, and he's been able
Yeah.
to do that. So if he can get even 70 odd percent of what Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay, he could be in for one of those big, massive years where you end up, the 1,700 yards, 12 touchdown type of season. So I'm going to go with a bit of an outsider there in Garrett Wilson.
I like it because you look at who's opposite him on that offense, and it's Mike Williams. So you don't
Mm,
know how much you're going to get from him. He's had the
yeah,
injury bug, unfortunately, his whole career. So you don't know what you're going to get out of him, how many games. You've got Alan Lazard there, who obviously has that connection with Rodgers, but he's not going to be that high volume player in this offense, I don't think. And then you've got Malachi
no,
Corley, the rookie, as well. So I don't think he's going to see a massive amount of targets, especially early on.
no,
So
not early on.
I think Aaron Rodgers is going to hyper target Garrett Wilson, especially early on, and he's going to put
Mm,
up some crazy numbers over this season. So I like that pick there. I think you'd be onto something there.
I hope so. I hope so. Who have you got?
So I'm going with, and we saw him play today, our time. I'm going with Derrick Henry. In that
Hmm.
Ravens offense, I think he can put up. We saw it in the game. That offensive line is a struggle.
Hmm.
But I think there's going to be games where the Ravens are holding a decent lead and they're just going to feed Derrick Henry 25, 30 times a game. I think there'll be games where he gets a couple touchdowns. He's going to score almost every single week, you'd think, at least one touchdown. So I said a while back when he signed with the Ravens, or went to the Ravens, that a 20 touchdown season for him isn't out of the realm of possibilities. And I think if he's going to run for, I think it was like 1,279 last season, I think he'll
Yeah.
rush for more than that this year, even with Lamar Jackson taking carries as well. But I think if Derrick Henry's getting 1,400 yards and he's pushing close to that 20 touchdown season, which I think he can, I think he'll be, offensive player of the year.
Look, I don't mind it. The offensive line, the two concerns that I have is that offensive line. That was one of my concerns even before we saw the game that was played today. Um, that was one of my concerns. The other one of my concerns is the fact that he does have Lamar Jackson, who, you don't think he's going to run for like he did the other year where he did, his 1,100 yard. Like, I'm not expecting that from Lamar, but at the end of the day, that RPO game that those two can play, like, who do you pick? You either got to take Derrick Henry or
Yeah.
Lamar's going to pull it and run himself. And that's the only reason why I was sort of a little bit hesitant. I can understand why you've gone with Derrick Henry. I'm not saying it's a bad pick, but for me, that was one of those things where I just had to hesitate a little bit with
And
with
I think
him
that
on that
RPO
one.
game with Lamar there is going to open up a lot of lanes for Derrick Henry. And if they
Yeah,
can get competent offensive line play as the season goes along, which they've got some new starters there, so it'll take a little bit of time to gel together. But I think it'll be good enough where the threat of Lamar taken out of the backfield opens up enough rushing lanes and keeps defenders away from Henry and not able to stack the box as much as he's used to. So I think that's where it opens up for him to be able to put up that big time season.
yeah. No, I can see that. And like I said, once again, I think a lot of these picks so far, I wouldn't be shocked if they happen. So if
Yeah.
Derrick Henry does have one of those years, I'm not going to be completely like, wow, that came from nowhere. So um move on now to our defensive player of the year. Who have you got in that market?
So I'm going to change it just because I know we're going to pick the same person. And I'm going to change it to Miles Garrett just to go different from you.
Hmm.
Because obviously Miles Garrett is one of the best defenders in the league year after year. And I
Yeah,
think he'll be in for another massive year as well. So his numbers are always going to be what they are. I think just another season like he has, he'll be right in the frame for Defensive Player of the Year. I have said to you off camera that my smoky in this new defensive system is Rashan Gary
mm,
because we've never seen him put up a double-digit sack season. His best is 9.5 sacks. I think this season, if he stays healthy in this defense, he has the potential to get 15 sacks. I think because they can't key in on him with the other defenders there, and he's just going to be, I think, allowed to run wild. And he's got his hand in the dirt now. That first step off the mark is elite, and his pass rush win rates are always up at the top echelon in the NFL. So I would love to see him finally have that breakout season where he's not only getting double-digit sacks but pushing up towards 15 like the best guys do, which is where Miles
yeah.
Garrett sits basically every year.
So, was your original pick going to be Micah Parsons?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So he was going to be my original pick, and that's who I locked in. And then I did actually change it today before the game started. And I'm actually going to go. It's still another edge rusher, but I was actually picking Max Crosby.
yes. I like that one as
I
well.
love Mad Max. Like he's
Yeah,
on the field like 97% of snaps he plays. Like it's just insane.
yeah,
I just think too, like every year that he's played, the opposing team's offenses have been able to key in on him because there hasn't been a lot of other people there. But now you get Christian Wilkins in the middle. You know, Malcolm Kuntz, he was pretty decent. I just think that by having big Christian Wilkins in the middle there, it's going to open up that for a bit for Max Crosby. So I wanted to go someone different that wasn't just Micah Parsons. But to me, this is one of those like if I was gonna if I was just gonna go with who I felt had the potential to do it the easiest, I guess, without as many sort of factors, it'd probably be Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Miles Garrett sort of thing. In that
yeah.
those are your sort of three front runners, I feel like. But I felt like going something different as of today. So I've gone, yeah, I think Mad Max Crosby, you know, he's just an incredible edge rusher, and I would love to see him bring back that Raider defense with Christian Wilkins and make it like one of those feared Raiders teams back in the Howie Long days, you
Yeah,
know, John Madden coaching, all of that sort of thing. Like I'd love to see that just because like I am sort of and you know this as well, just from all our chats we've had off camera, but like I am like a bit of a nerdy football history buff type of thing. And I like to see those big markets and those iconic teams and defenses come back. So to me, I'd love to see that Raiders team come back and have a incredible defense there. So
and how can you not just love everything about Max Crosby?
yeah,
He
exactly.
just he oozes that Raiders mentality, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. Absolutely love everything about Max Crosby. So okay, since we're talking defense, let's go on to defensive rookie of the year. I'll go first here. I have got, not surprisingly, another edge rusher and a first round pick, and I am going with Jared Verse from the LA Rams.
Okay, I like it.
I generally defensive rookie of the year usually always comes down to sacks, who gets the most sacks. And I think the Rams have enough talent on that defensive line to they've got enough talent. Like, okay, yes, it would have been great if they had Aaron Donald. But and I'm not saying that the guys that they have and they've brought in are going to replace Aaron Donald, but I think they've got enough talent there that Jared Verse is just going to feast in that team. It was between him and another person. I'd be curious to see who you have. But to me, it was between him and one other edge rusher were my two front runners, and then I had a cornerback as my third option. But yeah, so I think Jared Verse here is going to take out the award.
I think I'm going to be who your second guy was, and that's Dallas Turner.
No, that wasn't it.
Okay. Okay.
My
I think,
my second guy was Liatu Latu.
okay, yeah, he was my second guy.
Mm,
So I think Dallas Turner's going to have so many opportunities this year to get after the quarterback because I think that Vikings offense is going to not be able to control the game, maybe the way they could have
mm,
with JJ McCarthy there. Sam Darnold has had his moments where he's been quite good, quite solid, but he's also had a lot of moments where he's a turnover machine and puts the offense under pressure and then in turn puts the defense under pressure. So I think Dallas Turner's opportunity to get after quarterbacks and sack them will be fairly high because I don't think the Vikings are going to get blown out in many games. So I
no.
don't think their opponents are going to be able to lean on the run as much as would be an issue for Dallas Turner. So they can just put him out there, play him for as many snaps as possible, and he'll be that sort of Danielle Hunter guy that he takes over from. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to put up a double-digit sack season as a rookie.
Mm. So I sort of was going, yeah, Jared Verse, Liatu Latu were my first two options, and then I probably would have gone actually Quinion Mitchell third.
Yeah,
I just I just like
yeah, I
what
like
he could
Mitchell as well.
potentially do in that defense, but
Yeah,
we both, we were both huge fans of Quinion Mitchell in the draft, so
I think
not
defensive
a
rookie of the
surprise.
year is always fairly open as well,
Yeah,
more so than
yeah,
offensive rookie normally.
because it can just be someone who just splashes, who has a starting role for, and then they weren't expected to be the starter, or they've just had to step in and they have a couple good games and bam, they're off, and that's
Yeah,
all it could be. Like like you said, it's such a volatile sort of award
yeah.
to go from there. So we've got two more awards left, so I'll let you go first with the offensive rookie of the year. Who do you have?
I hate saying it because it's so obvious. It's Caleb Williams, and
Yeah,
I want to be able to say Jaden Daniels because I love Jaden Daniels, but I can't guarantee that he's going to be healthy for the entire season, which is the only
mm,
thing that stopped me saying that Jaden Daniels will be rookie of the year. I just think Caleb Williams is in the perfect spot, obviously, for a rookie. Everyone's talked about it. That
yeah,
offense they have there can be really good, and such a good quarterback. So I
yeah,
don't care about what people say about his off the field stuff. That's just
no,
ridiculous talk as far as I'm concerned. His talent is immense, and I just think he's in such a good offense with the weapons around him that it's going to be hard for any other rookie to have a better season than him.
yeah,
And you look at that Bears
yeah.
team as well. When you look at their schedule and everything else, and how many wins you think they're going to get, I think they're going to be in the playoff picture. So that's
Yeah.
only going to help him as well as far as offensive rookie of the year goes. So yeah, I don't think anyone's going to get it over him.
So I'm pretty much in agreement with you, but because I knew that you would go Caleb Williams, I did pick a backup option.
Yeah,
And I did go Jaden Daniels. My
yeah,
thinking behind it was just the fact that, so Washington had the second pick in the draft last year. Will Washington be really good? I don't think they'll be really good, but could they be an above average or an average team? Yes, because I think they've got enough high, or not high quality, but they've got enough quality starters on both sides of the ball that could make them a 8 and 9, 9 and 8 type of team. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily guaranteeing that, but if you have Jaden Daniels who goes close to 1,000 yards rushing, you know, 3,000 yards passing around there, has 20, 25, 20 to 25 sort of passing touchdowns plus another 7 rushing touchdowns. Like, he would be, to me, they're the two main options who I would pick. My other choice would be if Marvin Harrison goes insane and puts up like a Puka Nakua
Yeah,
type season where he breaks all the rookie records.
yeah,
Because I think he's got the best chance to do it just based off the fact of who's around. Like, I think that maybe Rome Odunze could have a really good rookie season, but then it's hard competing with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen,
yeah. I
Gerald
don't think
Cole.
Roma Dunze is going to sort of crack 850 yards even,
No,
just because DJ
no,
Moore's there's Keenan Allen there.
yeah, there's just too many guys there. But
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison is sort of competing with Greg Dortch, Zay Jones, who's suspended for the start of the season, and Michael
Michael
Wilson.
Wilson
So
and Trey McBride. So
Trey McBride. So to me, it's
yeah,
going to be Marvin Harrison's option number one, Trey McBride's option number two. They would be sort of it's the top three picks in the draft. Like, well, Marv went four, but Drake May's not starting, so it's maybe the three best players in the draft to go out my pick, sort of. So,
yeah.
um, now this is going to be interesting. I'm going to let you go because I had two options written down for coach of the year, and I reckon you might pick one of them. Who was your coach of the year?
Somebody that should have already had it by now the last couple seasons, and it's Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, so he was one of my choices.
Okay, that's good to hear. Because I think when Aaron Rodgers was there, I think it took the shine off what Matt LaFleur can do with an offense.
Yeah,
And then obviously the start of last season wasn't ideal for the Packers. We started off well and then hit a sort of sour patch for 5 games. And then came home with a major wet sail with that offense. So
yeah.
I think Matt LaFleur is one of the top offensive minded coaches in the game. He's top 5 for me. And I think this is the season where he finally gets recognised for that and wins Coach of the Year. Because I see the Packers competing for the NFC Championship game and ultimately for the Super Bowl contender as well. So, yeah, it's not me being a Packer fan picking my guy. It's me saying he deserves it after he should have won it at least once by now, I think.
And the insane thing is it's not always the best coach who wins coach of the year. So, like, you think of it, all that time that Bill Belichick was coach of the Patriots, and he won coach of the year like three times.
Yeah,
Like, they won like 6 Super Bowls, but he won coach of the year three times. It generally goes to someone who's improved the team better than they were the year before. So, thinking of it, like, the Packers went what 9-8 last year because they
yeah,
started off poor and they improved on the second half of the season. If they happen to go 11-6, 12-5, that's a three, potentially three, maybe even if they happen to get to 13. I'm not saying they will, but if they happen to get around that range, that could be a 3-4 win improvement on where they were the year before. So to me, my two choices were Matt LaFleur, or because everyone was going to be on the Dan Campbell hype train, I was actually going to go D'Amico Ryans. Because to me, D'Amico was another guy who he improved the Texans from where they were. We weren't obviously expecting the Texans to be as good as what they were last year. He made them a better team, but if he can turn that Houston Texans team into a AFC championship sort of team, if he can get them just to improve, if they can be like the Green Bay Packers here in that 11-12 sort of win season, then I do think that he could be our coach of the year besides Matt LaFleur. But I am with Dan there and thinking Matt LaFleur would probably win it. But yeah, it's either Matt LaFleur or D'Amico Ryans for me. So just because I didn't want to jump on everyone with who would be jumping on the Dan Campbell hype train. So
I do like the D'Amico Ryans pick as well.
yeah. Yeah. So they are our award winners. So now we are going to jump into our week one picks here. We're going to go through all the games. Um, the one thing I will say is, and I mentioned this on the show that I did yesterday, where Dan was unable to be on there, but a lot of these picks are, whether it be winners, uh, touchdown scorers, whatever, a lot of these are vibes picks. So a lot of these are guys who look week one. It's really hard to actually know who to take in your week one pick because we haven't seen anyone play proper games yet. So this one we might breeze through some of these games pretty quickly without a lot of analysis because we've just not seen anyone play yet. So also, if you do want to jump in, I know that by the time you've heard this, there probably would have been a couple games, but we do have a pick and pull on Sleeper. Dan and I are doing our picks in there, so you are able to actually keep track of where we are going for this season, and we can have a little friendly competition as to who wins and gets the most picks right at the end of the season. And after the first game, I am 1-0, and Dan, you are 0-1 because you picked the Ravens.
Yeah, I was let down by Isaiah Likely's big toe. So wear some damn white cleats, thanks.
Yeah, next time. Next time. So we are going to start here with the Tennessee Titans at the Chicago Bears. So Chicago Bears are favorite, paying $1. So as Dan mentioned before, these are all the odds on Sportsbet as of our recording time, which is the 6th of September at 7:30 7:30 p.m. 8 o'clock for Dan. So Bears are $1.50 as the favorites. Titans are paying $2.67. The line is the Bears are favorites by 3.5 points. The over under is 44.5. So Dan, who have you picked in this one?
I am picking the Bears. I think
Hmm.
Titans are going to be in for a tough season. So, yeah, I just think Chicago, there's too much there for them. Caleb Williams looked decent in the preseason as well. So I just think
Hmm.
Chicago will be too good there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've got Chicago in that one as well. I don't think the Titans will be as bad as what some people are expecting because they have signed some pretty decent people in the offseason. And then obviously they've just made the trade recently to get Ernest Jones in as well. So I do think they've got some pretty decent talent. But I do think that the Bears are going to be too good. And I actually think the Bears are going to be a playoff team this year. So,
Yeah.
Dan, can you give me who you think might score a touchdown from each team? We're going to be doing this with each one as well. So, who
Okay.
are you
So
liking as your touchdown scorers?
from the Titans, I think DeAndre Hopkins, he's at $3, which I think is good value for him. I think he'll
Hmm.
be the main red zone target for Will Levis.
Yeah,
So getting $3 for him, I think's pretty good. And then for the Bears, the new guy, Keenan Allen, I think they'll look to get him involved a lot early on. So $3.05 for him, which again, that's good value for someone like Keenan Allen. And the Bears will be
yeah.
able to move the ball as well. So DJ Moore will get a lot of attention, and Keenan Allen kind of just gets one on one a lot of the time, I think, with this offense. So yeah, opens him up a lot more than he's been used to throughout his career.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We're pretty similar on this. I've actually gone Calvin Ridley for the Titans at $3. So same odds as DeAndre Hopkins. I just think similar sort of thoughts to you in the sense of like it's going to be Will Levis's target, but my also thinking is that maybe Jalen Johnson might be on Nuke Hopkins, and that might leave Calvin Ridley to roam around and whoever is going to be playing wherever he might be playing. So he was my thought for there. And then the opposite of your Bears pick, I've actually gone DJ Moore, who's at $2.70. So one of those things where, DJ Moore's such an explosive wide receiver, and it wouldn't shock me to see DJ Moore fly past someone and catch a long pass from Caleb and streak down the sideline for a 40-yard touchdown. So they are our picks from that one. Moving next to the Steelers at the Falcons. Now, the Falcons are favorite, 3.5-point favorites here, and they're paying $1.54. The Steelers are the underdogs here at $2.56, and the over-under is 42.5. So, Dan, who have you picked in this game?
I actually picked the Falcons, and I'm not confident about it, but I'm also not confident about the Steelers. So, yeah, good luck with that one, I guess. That is one
Yeah,
that I would be staying away from as a head-to-head bet.
Yeah, I would be too. Look, I went opposite. I went the Steelers just because the Steelers are that team who every single season they fool everyone in week one. Like you think they come out in week one, Mike Tomlin's got a fantastic game plan for everyone. And they came out last year and they battered the Bengals. Like, it's just one of those things that every single season the Steelers come out and they just that week one they've spent weeks planning for their opposition. Look, part of my thinking too is if Kirk Cousins is playing, which I think he is, we haven't heard anything as of yet, as of our
Yeah, as
recording.
far as I'm aware, he does. So
Yeah, but he's coming off the Achilles and it's the first time playing with this new group of people and it's a new offense and a lot of people are saying, oh, it should be fine because it's like that LA Rams style of offense. But Kirk Cousins has admitted that a lot of the verbiage from Kevin O'Connell to what is now in Atlanta isn't the same. So, yes, it might be like a similar type of offense, but it's also him. He spent the last couple of years with Kevin O'Connell, like, in that type of offense. It's not quite the same. So there are going to be some similarities and some big differences. So, look, I think the Falcons might end up winning the NFC South, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're a little bit slow to start with.
yeah, that's all well and
Um,
fair.
who are your touchdown picks in this game?
So I don't know if you'd call him a bit of a roughie, but I've got Jalen Warren from the Steelers at $4.10. I think he's a good shot, getting some goal line carries off Najee. If he's been used a
Mhm.
bit beforehand, just give him a spell, and Jalen Warren sort of makes the most of it and gets that touchdown. And then for the Falcons, I think it's finally Kyle Pitt's breakout season, and he's going to get his season off to a bang.
Yeah.
$3.10 for Kyle Pitt's touchdown. I think they look to get him going early on and to set the standard for the
So,
season. So he's got a bit of a niggle in training, but I think he'll be all good to go. And I
yeah.
just think they'll use him as a matchup nightmare and finally get the best out of him.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to have an incredible season. Because as I look here, I need my signed Kyle Pitts helmet to take pride of joy somewhere in this office, and I can't do it if he's not going to have a good season. I might have to look at seeing if someone wants to buy it if he has another one of those seasons that everyone's a little bit disappointed in. But so because you went Kyle Pitts, I actually had someone different. I went with Drake London.
Yeah.
I'm thinking along the lines, similar sort of lines to you. If we are trying to make that comparison between the Vikings and the Falcons offense, I'm thinking that Drake London is going to be Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. Not saying he's going to be the same as Jefferson, but saying like the number one target that he's going to look for in a lot of situations where Kyle Pitts was like his TJ Hawkinson, his security blanket. So Drake London's paying $3 there for a touchdown scorer.
I like your Steelers one, by the way.
Yeah, my Steelers one is this is what I'm thinking because of the Kirk Cousins maybe being a step slow coming back. So I actually went with the Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
As soon as I saw
Touchdown
that, I
from
had
the
a
Steelers.
chuckle to myself and said, I love this.
The reason, so I went, look, he's had a lot of time out of the game. Um, New people, like I was just saying before, new verbiage, new some of this. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he calls a play and is sort of his memory sort of goes back to that Minnesota, and he's expecting Drake London to maybe run an in route, and he runs an out, and suddenly it's just straight to the defender, and they run it back. So I went with the Steelers defense just because I couldn't really pick anyone else on offense who I liked from that Steelers team.
So you're
So
thinking
the
a pick
Pittsburgh Steelers
six
defense,
from him. You're thinking a pick
a pick
six
six
from
or
him.
a fumble.
So when I
Yeah,
saw you pick Pittsburgh defense, I immediately thought strip sack fumble for the touchdown.
yeah,
TJ Watt touchdown.
yeah. See, that's sort of what I was thinking, or Alex Highsmith, like one of those
Yeah.
type of. So the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is actually paying $6.75 for a touchdown there.
Which for a
So
defense is so short. Like, that's insane.
yeah, I was looking at some of these other games, and some of the other defenses were like $16, $17 for a
Yeah.
touchdown, and for the Steelers it was $6.75. I was like, actually, I sort of really like that, and that wasn't me being like, oh, I'm going to be a bit of a out of the ordinary here. I was actually like, do you know what? I could actually see it because, like you said,
Oh, you can
it's
100% see a scenario where it plays out.
Kirk Cousins not quite trusting his Achilles, and he's a little bit
Yeah.
slow on a drop back. And like you said, TJ Watt's in the backfield, strip sack. It's a miscommunication with the receiver, and Joey Porter Jr. takes the pick six and runs it back the other way, or a Minka Fitzpatrick, who has been known to score touchdowns on defense. So, yeah, I put that down. I thought you might have a bit of a chuckle and think I was a bit of an idiot for doing it, but I'm glad
No,
that
I
you actually saw it
100%
and you're
see
like,
where you're
actually, I
going
could
with it.
see it.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what we like. That's what we like. Now, guys, do not bet it, because if Dan and I both like it, it's not going to happen probably. So, um,
Hey, hang on a minute.
so
What did I do today in my tips?
yeah, no, but we weren't 3 for 3 on them. We both didn't agree with it.
Yeah, true.
We both.
True. Okay, we'll give
So if we
you that.
both
I'll
like
let
this,
that.
if we both like the Steelers defense, there's no way then that it's actually going to happen, is it?
No, it's too good to be true
Uh,
then.
So our next game here, we have Battle of the Florida teams. We've got the Jags at the Dolphins. Now, Dolphins have opened. They're currently 3.5-point favorites here, paying $1.58 to the Jags, $2.46, and the over/under is 49.5. So they're expecting quite a high-scoring game here. So, I have picked the Dolphins here. I do think the Jags are going to be a better team, and I think if there was a chance for the Jags to maybe pull off an upset, this probably wouldn't be the worst time, just with some of the injuries. Obviously, the Dolphins, when they lost a couple of their edge rushers last year, and they lost some of their defensive players due to, cap hits and things like that. But I just think they're going to have a hard time slowing down that offense.
Yeah, the Dolphins always start off hot. Like, they come out of the gates fast every season. Oh, not every season, but most of their seasons, especially getting to Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm picking Dolphins as well. Quite
Yeah.
comfortably, I guess, as far as you can go for week one in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I've gone with my touchdown scorers. I've gone with pretty much the obvious one for Miami, and that's Tyreek Hill. He's paying $1.96 at the moment. Yeah, we saw in today's game, but we've seen all season last year. Speed kills with Tyreek Hill. Like, no one can cover Tyreek Hill. And it's not one of those ones where sometimes you have to, you see with some players, we have to manufacture them a touchdown. We have to have the perfect play called against the perfect defense, and that's the only way this person's going to get a touchdown. Tyreek Hill's plays get him the ball and get out of the way. Like, get
Yeah.
him the ball, whether it's a deep pass by Tua and Tyreek's run past someone, or it could be throw the ball to Tyreek in a bubble screen and he can outrun everyone else out on the field. So to me, it's get Tyreek the ball and he would score there. And then I went for Jacksonville rookie Brian Thomas Jr., who is paying $3.80 for a touchdown. I like him to step in and be that deep ball threat for Trevor Lawrence there. So they were
Yep.
my 2 touchdown picks
I like the
for this
Brian
one.
Thomas Jr. pick because I think he is going to be that sort of target monster for them. As far as
Yeah,
I mean, I can't say target monster, touchdown monster, but I think he'll push double digits on the season. So I wouldn't be shocked if he starts
yeah,
the year off with one in week 1. But I've gone for the Jaguars, Evan Engram. I just think
mhm,
he's so hard to match up on, and
yeah,
Trevor Lawrence loves him. He's that red zone
mm,
target that's trusted down there. So I think it's hard to go past him. And then for the Dolphins, I've got the other wide receiver in Jalen Waddle. I think we're looking at a bounce
yeah,
back season from him, where we look for more touchdowns as well from him. So it'll be an
yeah.
interesting one. I
I
think that one's going to be a high scoring game. So there's plenty of opportunities there.
Well, the odds are expecting it with an over under of 49.5. It's one of the higher ones for the week,
Yeah, and
so
I've got
they're
them going over
expecting
that as well. So
yeah. So I'm not surprised on that one. This next one, um, Bengals are home against the Patriots. Obviously, Bengals are favourites, paying $1.22, so probably avoid the straight up heads up market there. Patriots are $4.55 underdogs. The line, the Bengals are 8.5 point favorites, which I sort of feel like maybe is a little bit low. I was sort of
yeah,
expecting it to be closer to 10. And I think maybe that might have come down because of the Joe Burrow. Like if Joe Burrow didn't have the wrist injury, I think that's probably more closer to 10 points than
and I
eight and a
think
half.
the
And the over,
unsure of Jamar Chase lining up in week 1 as well might have pushed
well,
that down a little
that
bit.
too. Yeah, I think the combination of those 2 has probably pushed it down, whereas I think if you had, Jamar Chase was happy, and was playing and Joe Burrow didn't have the wrist injury, I think you'd probably see that in at probably 10, maybe even 11 or 12, the line there for those ones. So,
Yeah,
um, they're not expecting a high scoring game in this one. The over under is 40.5, but I think they're expecting most of the scoring to come from the Bengals side than the Patriots side. So,
yeah,
um, I had a real struggle trying to pick a Patriots touchdown scorer. So I ended up going with Pop Douglas, Demario Douglas, paying $5.50. Uh, look for him to become Jacoby Brissett's number 1 target just because he can get open. That was my sort of thinking. And then for the Bengals, I went with T. Higgins, paying $2.90. I'm expecting T. Higgins to try and have a big season just based off of it's a contract year and he had the holdout and he was one of the only guys who didn't really get a contract extension. He signed his franchise tag, but yeah, I'm expecting him to have a big year to try and either get a big contract from the Bengals or find his next home. So they were my touchdown picks for this one.
yeah. I like the Pop Douglas call as well. Like you said, trying to find someone from the Patriots to get a touchdown was near on
Yeah,
impossible. I just
yeah.
ended up going with Ramondre Stevenson. I'm like, I got
Mm,
no idea, to be honest, how that passing attack's going to look like. So I'm just going to go
yeah.
with the guy that can do it all, sort of thing, out of the backfield. So Ramondre Stevenson, which is paying $3.40, which is still pretty juicy for him as well. And then for the Bengals, I took an outside roughie here. I just want to say his name as well, just to get it out there. But I also think he's going to be the third wide receiver on the Bengals as well, especially early
Mhm.
on. And Andre Yosivas at $5.40, I think with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins seeing all the attention, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Andre Yosivas long distance touchdown of 40 plus yards at
Mm.
$5.40. I quite like that play.
And I think he's probably got more of a chance to if Jamar Chase doesn't line up, or if he does line up and he's not playing all the snaps. Like I could see that really have a chance to
And he's a
hit.
good player as
Whereas,
well. Like he showed out a bit
yeah,
last year as well.
yeah, yeah, he limited plays that he had last year, but what I saw I like. So I can't fault you for that one. The next one, this is going to be one of these games that, look, I know in the States you've got like your YouTube TV multi-view that you can watch multiple games at once. This 100% would be one of the main games that I would have on like a main screen if we could do that here in Australia. And
Yep.
it's the Texans at the Colts. This is a fascinating game for me. Two of potentially the better young quarterbacks in the league in this game in CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. The Texans are currently favorite $1.66 to the Colts $2.27, and the line is the Texans are 2.5-point favorites, and the over/under for this one is 48.5. So they're expecting this to be a high-scoring game as well. Who are your touchdown locks, and who have you? Well, I shouldn't say locks. Who are your touchdown guys that you're looking at, and who have you got winning this one?
So I've got the Texans winning this in a bit of a shootout. I think it'll be sort of 31-27 type game.
Yeah.
I've got the Texans winning. I do like the Colts. I just don't think they're quite ready yet. And I think the Texans proved last year that they can win a lot of games this year.
Mm-hmm.
For the Texans touchdown, I have Stephon Diggs at $3. I think Stroud will want to get him involved in this offense and want to keep him happy early, or the entire season really, but especially early on. We know Stephon Diggs can cause a bit of drama when he's not happy there. So getting him a touchdown in week one, I think, is the play for CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And then for the Colts, I've got an Anthony Richardson keeper for a touchdown, $2.30.
Yeah. Look, I could see Anthony Richardson leading all quarterbacks with touchdowns this year. Just if he's healthy and plays 17 games, like he's a guy who could lead all quarterbacks in touchdowns scored. So, and potentially rushing. So I like that call. He was actually going to be one of my original ones, and then I saw you'd picked him, so I went a different route there. So I actually went with rookie Adonai Mitchell at $4.60. I like this for the idea of, look, the Texans have upgraded their defense with some guys that they've picked, and they already had a pretty decent defense to start with. But bringing in like a Danielle Hunter and things like that. So I think Derek Stingley Jr. is going to be on Michael Pittman Jr. for most of the game, and to me that frees up Adonai Mitchell to be that, and maybe become that target for Anthony Richardson moving forward. So, excuse me. So, yeah, I've got Adonai Mitchell there at $4.60. And for the Texans, I am going to CJ Stroud's favorite person in the world. It's Tank Dell. Tank Dell at $3.45. Now, I know a lot of people will be on the Nico Collins and the Stephon Diggs, but Tank Dell is CJ Stroud's best friend pretty much in the world, not just on the team, but like in the world. So, if anyone saw that they asked CJ Stroud in the offseason, you can run a play, any play. Who are your three wide receivers that you run out there? He went, well, I want Jerry Rice. I think it was Calvin Johnson. And I want Tank Dell in the slot. Like, you could have picked any receivers. And he's gone, nah, I better have Tank Dell in the slot. So he's a guy who CJ Stroud is going to target often, and I think he is going to get a touchdown in this one.
Yeah. I'm surprised he's $3.45, but I guess that's the case with Nico Collins there and Stephon Diggs as well. So good value on that.
Yeah, and I think coming off the injury last year as well, I think they may be pricing in a little bit of maybe he might get off to a slow start as well, potentially. So maybe that's why it's at $3.45 and not at shorter odds. So move on to a game that I doubt that I'll be watching any of at all. Sorry, Vikings and Giants fans. It's just not going to be one that's on my list. And I can say that, look, I can guarantee you as Vikings and Giants fans, you're probably not going to be watching my team play either. So that's fine. I'm okay with that. The Vikings currently are favourites at $1.80 to the Giants $2.05, and the Vikings are only 1.5-point favourites, which is surprising on the road that they're 1.5-point favourites there. The over-under for this is 41.5. My touchdown, guys, I was originally going to go Aaron Jones, but I did notice I did make a change and go with Justin Jefferson. So I'm picking Jefferson here. He's paying $2.55, which is just showing to how little the betting markets have faith in Sam Darnold. Because if you
Yeah,
looked at any game the last couple of seasons, Justin Jefferson, you wouldn't be able to get over $2 anywhere. It was always like
no.
$1.70, $1.80, one of the shortest odds you could see for a touchdown every week. So he's at $2.55 there. And for the Giants are to me a bit like the Patriots. Like, I didn't know who to pick because I don't trust their offense,
Yep.
but I think they could score. So I just went with Daniel Jones on a quarterback
You
keeper.
think they could score? That just
I
about
think they
sums up what we're expecting from the Giants this season. You think they could
look,
score? I'm not
they
convinced,
could
but I think they
score.
could.
They could. Daniel Jones, he's paying $3.80. The only reason I figured taking Daniel Jones here is I don't trust his arm,
Yeah.
but he can run. So I'm sort of that was my thinking there. So who did you have?
I was going to pick Daniel Jones, so I kind of wish I did now just to see what you would have done because you might have just gone no touchdowns.
Hmm,
So
probably would have actually.
For the Vikings, like you said, I've gone Aaron Jones. My heart still beats for Aaron Jones, even if he is in purple now. I don't like the look of that, but I still love Aaron Jones. And $2.15, that's being lower than Justin Jefferson's crazy though. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just think they'll get him going on the ground to take pressure off Sam Darnold. I was going to pick Ty Chandler as well, who would be good odds. I'll just check
Hmm.
quickly what Ty Chandler actually was. But in the meantime, my Giants one was Jalen Hyatt. And I wasn't a big fan of Jalen Hyatt coming out of college. I'm still not an overly big fan of his. But I just
Mm,
think it's one of those games where, like you said, who knows what the Giants are going to do. I don't know where their touchdowns are going to come from. Obviously, Malik Neighbors is going to be the focal point. But I just think it could be a broken play with Jalen Hyatt using his speed just to make something happen. And he's paying
yeah.
$5.60, which I'll take those odds just for a splash in the dark, really. Ty Chandler was paying $3.80, so I don't mind that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I could
yeah,
see either of those. So
I think the over under on
um
this is 41.5. I'm thinking it's under.
yeah. Yeah. I was sort of thinking that too. I think I didn't actually ask you. I think we both picked the Vikings in this, didn't we?
Yeah, I pick Vikings.
Yeah.
No confidence
Yeah.
whatsoever. I just think coaching
No.
staff, Kevin O'Connell, best player in the league, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Best receiver in the league, but
Yeah. Well, so now we move from one low scoring game to probably another low scoring game here. And that's my Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints are currently 3.5 point favorites, paying $1.49 to the Panthers $2.71, and the over under on this is also 41.5. So Dan, give me your winner and then your touchdown scorers for this game.
so I'll pick the Saints. I don't like them either, but I don't know. I actually don't know about this one because I could see the Panthers winning. And at the odds that they're at 271, I don't mind that actually, but
Mm.
I don't know how you pick the Panthers in any game at the moment. You kind of just can't. So
Well,
yeah, I'll pick Saints.
in saying that, I have picked the Panthers.
Yeah, but you support them, so you kind of have to in week one at least.
Well, no,
Just
there are reasons behind it. You give your touchdown scorers, and then I'll tell you why I've picked the Panthers.
okay. So my touchdown scorer for the Panthers, I was going to go Deontay Johnson, but I chose Miles Sanders instead. I think they'll utilize both running backs there, and I just think
Hmm.
Sanders might be able to get in the end zone. For the Saints, I have Rashid Shaheed at $3.90 getting a touchdown. I like him a lot. And we saw last year he started to come on as a receiver, so I think we're going to see that again this year.
So I picked the Panthers not just because of my fandom, but I do actually. So my main reasoning behind it was this offensive line of the Saints is not great. So Ryan Ramczyk might have to retire. He's on injured reserve. He's out for the season. They've then they've moved Trevor Penning to right tackle because he was so horrible at left tackle last year, and he is only playing because they don't really have anyone else behind him, and he's looked pretty horrible in that as well. Derek Carr has no one in the league has any confidence in Derek Carr. Now, you know that it's
I think we
bad
see
to.
Spencer Rattler starting at some point this year.
I wouldn't be surprised, but you also know too that the thought process behind what people think of a quarterback isn't so great when uh, a guy who was on his team at that current time last season was tweeting mid-game about how poor he actually was, and that was Michael Thomas. Do you remember last year there was a game when Derek Carr was playing and he was tweeting mid-game about how poor he was as a quarterback pretty much, and they were on the same team. So, look, I actually think the Panthers could have a upset here because they new head coach, new offensive line. They spent a lot of money in the offseason on the offensive line and trying to bring in depth as well. They traded to bring in Deontay Johnson. Look, I'm not a huge fan of the defense for Carolina, but they do have some decent players there and a solid secondary. I wouldn't say it's like elite, but you got JC Horn could be an elite cornerback, but he's just always injured. So you can't give him that title, but he's a pretty decent cornerback. They traded for Mike Jackson as well. So he's probably going to, I think he's the other starting corner. And then they've also got Troy Hill from the Rams is playing nickel. They've got Show Smith Wade as well. So they've got some other cornerbacks as well. They bought it. They claimed, I can't think of his name at the moment. They claimed someone else from the Bucks as well. So they've got them. The safeties, they got Xavier Woods, Jordan Fuller, Nick Scott. So there's some guys in the back end who I like. It's just that Carolina has no edge rushers outside of Jadeveon Clowney. So,
Yeah.
so that's why I'm going Panthers there. And like I said, for $2.71, it's one of those things where I don't trust New Orleans. And that's probably more so. Even if I wasn't a Panthers fan, I just don't trust Derek Carr. So, yeah, I could see them pulling off an upset there. My touchdown scorers, I've got Deontay Johnson for the Panthers at $4.50, and for the Saints, Taysom Hill at $3.15. He could be a guy who ends up with maybe 8 touches a game for only about 10 yards, but he could end up with 2 touchdowns because that's the type of guy that he sort of is. If you're looking actually there's not too many games there's no other games really we've done this on, but if you're looking for an outsider for a touchdown scorer, I would definitely look at Tommy Tremble or Jatavian Sanders for the Panthers. They're both paying $6.75. Bryce Young did not have a lot of touchdowns last year, but he did throw a couple to Tommy Tremble. So I could see him getting a little bit of targets, whether it's him or Jatavian Sanders. And Sanders has got some pretty quick speed at the tight end position there. So they are just some outsiders that you could look at if you are so inclined.
I do like
So now
Jatavian
we're on
Sanders as
to
well. Good player.
yeah. I think we both liked him coming out of the draft, and we're both a bit surprised that he fell to the 4th round. I was sort of expecting him in the first, maybe back end of the 2nd round, early 3rd at the latest. So to have him fall into the 4th round was quite a surprise to me. But next game we have is the Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills. The Cardinals are underdogs paying $3.37. The Bills are paying $1.34, and the Bills are 6.5-point favorites. Their over-under is 47.5. I have gone with the Bills in this one. Take it, Dan, you are thinking the same?
Yeah, can't go past the Bills. I think it'll be close. I think that -6.5 for the Bills might be under threat there, but I definitely think we can be looking at another game where the score's over as well, the 47.5. But I think the Bills are pretty much a lock to win this game.
Yeah, I'm thinking along those lines too. I just don't think that Arizona has a defense that can stop Josh Allen and that offense. Like we know that they're short wide receivers in comparison to other years, but I don't know how the Cardinals will be able to stop that offense. So, who are your touchdown scorers in
Yeah.
this one?
So for the Cardinals, I have gone James Conner at $2.90. And then I think he'll just be the bell cow there. I've got Trey Benson as my RB1 in the rookie class, but I think
Mhm.
we'll see him start to take over a little bit more in the second half of the season. I think James Conner will still be that bell cow early on and that goal line back. And then for the Bills, I've got Dalton Kincaid at $2.50, who I think will be that sort of pseudo wide receiver one, target number one for the Bills this year.
Yeah. I've just gone James Cook at $2.40 for the Bills, just thinking that maybe they might try and like we saw him start to get a little bit more work when Joe Brady took over. And I'm sort of thinking that maybe the Bills are going to try and just save Josh Allen from running into everyone and hurting himself. So might hand the ball off a little bit more
Yeah, they
at
can
the start of the
try, but I
year.
don't think they're going to
And then for the
succeed because,
Cardinals, yeah, yeah, never works. Um, For the Cardinals, I am going with Kyler Murray at $4.86. I could see one of those things that the Cardinals get inside the five, and there's that bootleg that everyone bites, and everyone thinks James Conner's got the ball, and then Kyler walks in untouched into the end zone. So that's sort of my thinking there. We're coming down to the last few games now, so we'll race through some of these. So thank you if you're still stuck here with us this time. So we've got Raiders at the Chargers. Raiders are underdogs paying $2.43. The Chargers are paying $1.59, and the Chargers are 3.5 point favorites here. The over-under is 40.5. I don't understand why the Chargers are such heavy favorites in this. I am going with the Raiders.
I thought I picked the Raiders. Turns out I picked the Chargers. I may have to adjust that because I actually think the Raiders will win as well. I think Gardner
Mm,
Minshew will hold up just enough at quarterback for
mm.
the Raiders defense to limit the Chargers there with Justin Herbert being banged up as well. So, yeah, I'm going to have to change that because I swore I picked the Raiders. So I think they pull out the win there.
My thinking behind it too is everyone's just come in and gone, okay, Justin Herbert's back and Jim Harbaugh's coaching now. So therefore the Chargers are such a better team. My thing is I want to see it first. Like they don't have as much talent as what they used to have. Like they lost Mike Williams, they lost Austin Eckler, they've lost Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett's gone. Like they haven't really replaced them with anyone.
Yeah.
So it's all well and good having Justin Herbert come back, but if you haven't really replaced these guys, it might be harder for them to move the football than what everyone's thinking. So I like that Raiders defense. Like, I don't think they're a fantastic defense, but as we said earlier, Mad Max, Christian Wilkins, there's some nice pieces on that defense that I like. As you said, Gardner Minshew can hold up at quarterback. He's just going to target Devontae Adams a million times, and Jacoby Myers. So I've got my touchdown scorers as Devontae at $2.90, and for the Chargers, Josh Palmer as one of the only receivers who's played decent number of games with Justin Herbert, and Josh Palmer's paying $3 for a touchdown there.
Yeah. So I've picked the Raiders. I think this is one of those games where over unders set at 40.5. I think we're looking at a game that's under that. Raiders for their touchdown scorer. I didn't go the obvious one with Tay Adams. I mean, you're always going to back him, sort of thing, each week.
Mm,
I've gone Jacoby Myers at $4.20. I think that's ridiculous value for him.
mm,
Like I said, I don't think it's going to be
yeah,
a high scoring game, but I think he's just as much chance as anyone to get a touchdown. And then for the
yeah.
Chargers, I think Gus Edwards, $3.40. I just think Jim Harbaugh is going to want to run the ball. I don't know if you saw on Twitter the last day or so, the Chargers fullback. I think his
The
name
defensive
is,
lineman.
I think it's Sean Matlock, the big six foot
Yeah,
four,
something like that.
300
Yeah.
pound, angry looking redhead is their fullback. I think once they get down at the goal line with Gus Edwards and his violent running, I think a good chance that he gets across for the touchdown. So $3.40 for him, I think, is really good value.
Yep. I'm all there with you on that one too. Next game we got Broncos at Seattle. Broncos $3.18. Seattle's $1.38. They're 6.5 point favorites. Over under is 41.5. I've gone with Seattle in this. I don't like this Broncos team much at all. Sorry, Nate, when you watch this back, I do apologize. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this Broncos team. Um, who have you got, and who are your touchdown scorers in this game?
So I have picked. Who did I pick? Seattle. Yeah, I picked Seattle. I don't think Broncos are
Yeah,
ready to compete with them. Even though Bo Nix did
no,
look good in the preseason, I think he'll have a solid
but
year, but I don't think he's going to win them a lot of games. Um,
no,
my touchdown scorers for the Broncos, Javonte Williams. I'm expecting a big season from him, to be honest. I think finally being in the clear from his injuries, I think we'll see the best of him. So Javonte Williams, $3.30. For Seattle, the touchdown scorer, I've got JSN at $3.60. Tyler Lockett is in some doubt to play, which I think gives JSN a really good shot to see a lot of targets and, yeah, get that touchdown
yeah,
for him.
yeah, no, I like that. I went with Cortland Sutton at $3.40 for the Broncos and Kenneth Walker at $2.10, just because I feel like he's just going to run rampant all over them. So that was my next. Those picks. Next game we have the Dallas Cowboys at the Cleveland Browns. Now, the surprising thing on this is currently at the moment the Browns are favorite. They're 2.5 point favorites at home, paying $1.73. The Cowboys are paying $2.17. The over/under for this is 40.5. Now, I don't know why the Cleveland Browns are favorite in this game. I've picked the Dallas Cowboys. Um, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why the Browns are favorite. I know that Deshaun Watson last year was like 5-1 with the Browns before he got hurt, and their defense was elite and everything, but I I just don't trust. Well, granted, I don't really want to watch Deshaun Watson play too much, but I don't know what Sean Watson we're actually going to get, because even though he was 5-1, he didn't look great in any of those games
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. I think people are kind of expecting his sort of MVP caliber season back with the Texans that he had that one really good
Mm,
season. And
yeah,
outside of that, we haven't seen it again. So, yeah, I think basically what it comes down to here was all the drama surrounding Dak and his contract, and then the drama surrounding CD.
mm,
Like you said, though, the Cowboys being outsiders in this is a surprise to me. I've picked the Cowboys.
yeah. So, who are your touchdown scorers that you have for this one?
I have picked. Who did I pick? I've gone old school with a bit of Zeke Elliott touchdown action for the Cowboys.
Hmm.
And for the Browns, one of my favourite tight ends, David Njoku, at $3.60.
Yeah, see, I don't mind the Njoku one. I nearly picked him as well, but swapped him out for I went with Amari Cooper at $2.95, a bit of the revenge for being a former Dallas Cowboy and now Cleveland Brown. For the Cowboys, I actually went with the guy who was one of the I think might have even actually led the league in red zone targets last year, and that was Jake Ferguson. Now he's paying $3.50. We all know that Dak loves throwing to the tight ends. Jake Ferguson, like I said, I think he led the league in red zone targets. So if they get in that red zone, um, Dak is going to look for him, especially when they start maybe either doubling or putting a Denzel Ward or a Greg Newsom on CD Lamb. To have him lined up on a linebacker, I'll take my chances with Jake Ferguson there. So
I like it.
that's that's that one there. Washington at Tampa Bay. Washington is paying $2.50. Tampa Bay is $1.56, and Tampa Bay is 3.5 point favorites with 42.5 as the over under. Touchdown wise, I've gone for Washington. I've got Jaden Daniels, $3.15. I think he is just going to probably get pressured at times, and he's gonna have one of those runs where he breaks a looks like he's gonna be tackled for a 4 yard loss, and he ends up getting a 20 yard gain and score. So I'm going with Jaden Daniels there. And for Tampa Bay, I'm actually going with a guy who I think will have a bounce back season in Chris Godwin, and he's at $2.90. He'll be playing more in the slot this year, which is where he excelled a couple years ago with Mike Evans. So yeah, they're my two guys. And I forgot to say I have picked Tampa Bay in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Tipping Tampa Bay. I think they'll be too good. I was going to pick Jaden Daniels as my touchdown scorer, so I see why you did it. And again, same reasoning you had is why I would have. I've gone Austin Eckler. I think he's going to be out to make a point this season. I
Hmm.
think he himself would have been disappointed with how he played last year. So I think they'll. Brian Robinson's going to be the main guy, but I think they're going to want to get Austin Eckler involved as well, especially in the receiving game, taking the pressure off Jaden Daniels. So at $3.60, I think that's pretty good value just to have a bit of a punt on Austin Eckler there. For Tampa Bay, I'm going with one of my favourite guys, and that is Bucky Irving.
Mm,
$5.80. I think he's going to see his fair share of touches this year, and he's going to do it on the
mm,
ground and in the receiving game as well. So, yeah, I think $5.80 is massive value for him in week one.
mm. I like it. I like that one a lot, actually. We are now going on to this is Sunday night football. It's the LA Rams at the Detroit Lions. Lions are $1.46 favorites, and Rams are $2.81 underdogs. Lions are 4.5 point favorites, and the over under is the highest of all the games for this week one at 52.5. I have gone with Detroit at home in this one. Who have you got?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm Detroit. And you talk about that over under 52 and a half. I still don't think that's high enough, to be honest. I
No,
think it's
I wouldn't
going
be
over
surprised.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think this is a sort of 34-31 type game, potentially.
Yeah. Mind you, I'd absolutely love to see that for our Sunday night. To cap off week one on the Sunday slate of games, to have one of those games where it's just score for score the entire game. That'd be amazing to see.
Yeah.
I have gone
Yeah.
pretty chalk with my two touchdown picks here. I've gone David Montgomery paying $1.83 and Cooper Cup at $2.55. It's really hard to pick anyone on the Detroit Lions because they have three guys under $2, and then Sam Laporta's only $2.55 for your touchdown. So I found it a bit hard because all the guys were sort of very chalkish sort of picks. But yeah, I figured for the Rams, Cooper Cup, I think, is going to have a bounce back season, healthy, and his connection with Matt Stafford is going to show itself, and he's going to reestablish himself as one of the top wide receivers in the NFL this year.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. I have gone for the Rams. I'm going with Blake Corum at $3.50. Again, I think he'll see plenty of volume this year alongside Kyron Williams. So $3.50 I think is really good value for him. And then for Detroit, I've gone Jamison Williams in a breakout season for him. I think we
Mm,
could see a sort of 8 touchdown season for Jamison Williams because, like you said, they've got Amonra, you've got Sam Laporta. Jamison Williams, with his blinding speed, I think can just take the top off a defense and he'll see a lot of long touchdowns this year.
yeah. No, all with you on that one. So we now move on to Monday Night Football. We've got the Jets at the 49ers. 49ers are 4.5 point favorites, paying $1.46 straight up. And the Jets are $2.81 as the underdogs. And the over-under is 43.5. I have picked the 49ers here. Who is your pick and then your touchdown scorers?
I've picked the 49ers only because they're at home. I
Yeah.
think this is one of those games where Aaron Rodgers is going to come out with a point to prove this season. The
Hmm.
49ers were his bogey team when he was with Green Bay.
Yeah.
If this was at MetLife Stadium, I think I would have been picking the Jets, to be honest, this game. But I
Hmm.
just think the home field advantage for the 49ers will be too much. I think it'll be a close game. But I just think 49ers at home, you can't go past them. So for my
Yeah.
touchdown scorers, the Jets, obviously, like Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, it's
Hmm.
almost impossible to say anyone other than those two. But
Yeah.
I think Mike Williams, that big body in the red zone, streaming down the sideline as well. I just think Rodgers will have chances where he's got him wide open. So I think $3.75 for a touchdown for Mike Williams in week one is quite juicy for me. For the
Mm.
49ers, like Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, it's obviously a lot of weapons there.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings seems to always find a way just to get
Yeah.
involved. So at
Yeah.
$5, I think I would take a long shot punt on him at $5 there. Just that sort of
Mm.
smoky where you're not expecting it and he just pops up with a touchdown.
No, I like it. My two guys are you've pretty much mentioned. I went Brees Hall at $2.45 and Brandon Ayuk at $3 there. It like you said, it's really hard um in this to sort of go anyone other than those guys, just because, like you said, the 49ers have so much talent. The Jets have the two main guys that you want to go after. But yeah, so they're our picks there for that one. So um they're the guys that we like. Now, I forgot to prepare you for this afterwards. I want to put us together. We won't give you the odds, but I want to pick your three favorite touchdown scorers from these Slater games, and I'll give my three favorite that I would put into a multi-bet parlay type between the games. So I'll just go first with mine. So I am going to go T. Higgins in the Cincinnati versus New England game. So I've got T.
Yep.
Higgins there at $2.90. I am going to go. I reckon I will go Devontae Adams at $2.90 in the Raiders Chargers game, and Jake Ferguson in the Cowboys and Browns game at $3.50. So they would be my three guys: Jake Ferguson, T. Higgins, and Devontae Adams.
All right. So my guys, and I'll put this in Sports Center to see what it comes up as the odds. And while I'm doing this, you can do yours as well. Because we want to start the season off strong. We want to get out ahead of this and we want to be putting some money in the kitty. I'm going with Aaron Jones at $2.19, $2.15, sorry. I'm going with James Conner at $2. I've just seen he's now $2.85. So since I
Mm.
first looked at it, it was $2.90. He's now down to $2.85.
So they're
And my
listening to us.
third,
They're listening to us. The
clearly
sports
sports
better,
bettors off
sports
to
better.
us.
Yeah.
And my third guy, I think I am going to go with Javonte Williams as my third guy. So I've got Aaron Jones at $2.15, James Conner at $2.85, and Javonte Williams at $3.30, which is a payout at $20.22,
Nice.
which is
So
quite nice.
yeah. So looking at mine, so like I said, I had T Higgins at $2.90, Devontae Adams at $2.90, Jake Ferguson at $3.50. It gives me a payout of $29.43. Now, if I put $5 on all of those guys and then $5 on the multi, the potential payout for that would be all up would be $147.17 if those three hit.
Nice.
So I don't think
And that's
actually
off
sorry, let me
$20.
$20 actually it would be sorry I forgot that's 147 for the multi, didn't include if I individually bet the guys, it'd be $193.67 would be the total, so it'd be up nearly $200 off a $20 bet if those
Nice.
three guys score.
I
So
like
that's
it.
what I am liking the look of this week. So I'm just going to note that down. So um, so we can say so then I can maybe actually put this bet on after we finish. So
So
it
mine
was
would be, so it's
um,
$101. Oh, you go with yours, yeah?
so I would get 29.43 for that, and total payout would be 193.67 if all three of those hit with $5 bet on everyone.
So combining my multi, I'd get $101.10. Then you put $5 on Javonte, 5 on Connor, and 5 on Aaron Jones, and I'm looking at another $41.50. So I am much lower than you at $142.60. If I've done that math right just in my head then quickly, which I would back myself in, to be honest. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong, somebody. But yeah, I think I'll be whatever I said I was, under 150.
Yeah, no,
So we're talking
I
about off a
think
$20 total bet.
yeah. So look, we are going to keep track of these guys who we like throughout the season, um, just because we would like to try and see what our hit rates are as well, and bringing you guys some good information there. So that's who we've liked this week. As I mentioned earlier, we still have our pick and pull. If you would like to get involved, there is still time. Look, week one, if you happen to be in, and it's after week one, like we'll figure something out. It'd just be good to go the rest of the season to see how everyone does, and we go from there. So, Dan, have you got anything else that you would like to add before we get out of here for tonight's episode?
I think the Ravens and Chiefs game today set a pretty high benchmark for the rest of the season. I put out a tweet this afternoon, which was basically saying that, yeah, it's set a big benchmark of how the season's going to go, and culminating in a Green Bay Packers Super Bowl win. It will be the greatest season in the history of the NFL. So I am holding on to that, and I'm expecting big things just from the NFL in general this year. I'm excited about it. We wait 6 months
Mm,
for this to come around, and then it seems like it's taken forever. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, okay, it's here. Here we go, let's go.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
exciting game for us tomorrow from Brazil with Green Bay and Philly over there. I don't know what to expect from that game, to be honest. It could be anything. Don't know what to expect from
could be
Brazil
anything.
either. So, yeah.
Yeah, could be anything, but what we do know is we are absolutely over the moon that football is back. You will be able to catch Dan and myself every single week doing this same sort of exercise. We will try and breeze through them a little bit quicker, but I guess we did have that extra 25 minutes where we went through the award winners from there. So what we're looking
Yeah,
at doing for this season is we're looking at trying to do a review show where we will go back and we may not hit every single game, but we'll just go back and we'll look at some of the games. We'll talk about some of the standout moments, any big news that's come from that. And then we will also be looking to do this same type of show as well, where we make our weekly picks. We throw you some bets. We look at some of those touchdown scorers for you. So on behalf of myself and Dan, thank you very much for listening. So please like, subscribe. Also, remember to go and hit us up on Twitter. You can find Dan at beard_82. You can find me at BradBolt1. You can find us all at Optimus Fantasy. Make sure you head over to the Optimus Fantasy website. Like and subscribe if you're on YouTube so you can see all of the podcasts that come out on Apple, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcasts. We got some great people working involved with us this season. There's some great content on the website. We're going to have some tools and everything coming out soon, which will help you. And that is going to be a lot of fun. So, Dan, thank you for this episode tonight. It is here. Football is here. We are excited, aren't we, my friend?
we are, mate. Like I said, cannot wait to see how this season plays out. It's going to be one of those ones. Can the Chiefs three-peat? Do the 49ers finally get over the hump? Or do one of the young upstarts take over in the Packers and Lions in that NFC? And then do we see the Bills finally get over the hump as well? So much can happen this season.
So much can happen, and we will be here with you every single week on the Optimus NFL show, your home of football, transforming the way that you watch the game. Bye for now.